And now, live from beautiful and exciting Las Vegas, one of the most influential talk show hosts in America, radio icon Alan Stock.
Anna, good morning. Great to have you with us on this Thursday morning. All right. Coming up tomorrow night at midnight, brand new show debuts here at News Talk 720 KDWN. And my prediction right now is it's going to be a huge, huge hit. And that it may wind up even going beyond one night. I mean, this may be a huge, huge show because of not only the topic, but the person behind it who has her own personal experiences with all of this. The show, Restricted Airspace. The host, Tina Marie. And she's in studio with me right now to talk about it. Hey, Tina, how you doing?
Pretty good, Alan. Thanks for inviting me on this morning. I was telling you on the way in, I said, I have controversy? I mean, you really got them going this morning already.
Well, there's little discussions here and there, and I think people are going to find what you have to say to be fascinating. Some will immediately debunk it and think that, you're full of it, and what are you smoking and all that jazz. But when people listen to what you have to say, I think they're going to go, you got to be kidding me. Real quick, the show, Restricted Airspace, is going to talk about what?
Well, Restricted Airspace is going to cover everything from the UFO to paranormal to conspiracies, kind of a range of stuff, everything from free energy. Think of it as stuff that nobody wants to talk about, but people have been talking about it. It's gotten extremely popular over the years, especially the conspiracy stuff, everything between Jesse Ventura's show and stuff. The conspiracy, the live UFO hunters they've been having on TV. There's a huge draw in this field because people like the unknown. There is so much truth out there, but I've been dealing with people for years who think we're nuts. When you talk conspiracy, the first thing you have people that just are not going to be in your corner. They're just going to think you're crazy.
Now, there's a show on TV, Ufo Hunters?
There was a show, Ufo Hunters. There's been quite a few. I mean, the biggest shows, everything from the ghost hunters to UFO hunters to conspiracy theorists, they've been all over. In fact, with technology now, there's a lot of people who have their own blogs and do shows as well. Mm-hmm. So that has become extremely, extremely popular in the culture. And I think a lot of it has to do with our own government creating this kind of montage of shows because of their own issues. I mean, I was producer for Majestic 12 TV years ago. And 2 years ago, we talked about the Utah base before it was even in the news, about the CIA, what it was going to do. And back then, we were nuts. We were crazy. The facility doesn't exist. I'm like, it does exist and what it's going to do. And then now all of a sudden, they come out and now it's the big deal. The CIA's,
I think that people have always been fascinated by this, and otherwise shows like Twilight Zone and One Step Beyond and Outer Limits and stuff like that would never have been as popular as they were, and even in reruns, and you can buy all the whole series and DVD now of all of them. So, I mean, they're very popular because people always, you're right, it's the unknown. And with the advent of the internet and blogging and everything else, now everybody can put something out and others can glom onto that if they're interested in it. So I get all that, and I've seen the Ghost Hunters show on TV. Just to digress for a moment, and it's kind of bizarre because first of all, I don't buy a lot of it because when they're trying to look for ghosts in places, and like, oh, did you hear that? Did you hear that? No, did you hear that? And I'm watching the show. I'm going, I didn't hear anything. And they go, oh yeah, there's a tick somewhere. I'm going, what? I'm listening, and they think that they hear something, and I don't hear it, and so it's like, oh yeah, man, we found a ghost. Well, I think it sounds like a lot of hooey a lot of the times. But this is interesting because you are claiming, among other things, then you're going to talk about this a lot in your show, mm-hmm. that the aliens are here, people or creatures from beyond our solar system. Whether they got here by flying here or through an interdimensional wall or door, I don't know, but because...
Well, no, there's different theories on that everything from they're interdimensional beings to the fact that they are here, that they've been here before us, and that we were genetically altered to become a slave race There's reptilians here. There's grays here.
Reptilians and grays.
Those are the two main people they talk about. But you have the Nordics, and you have many other species, and there are
Nordics. Those are the tall whites.
No, the tall whites are a little different. The Nordics are more human-looking. They tend to be more of a peaceful nature. They're the ones our government doesn't want to deal with because they want us to disarm basically our nuclear technology in exchange for their technology. Our government's not going to do that. They want the technology, so that's why they said to deal with the grays. Yeah.
The grays.
The grays, yeah.
All right. I want to talk about specifically about the different types of aliens because you've had various personal experiences, and I want to hear about some of that. I know you're going to be expounding about a lot more of this and other things on your new show, Restricted Airspace, starting tomorrow night at midnight, right here at News Talk 720 KDWN. You don't want to miss out on this show. It's going to be something that will raise the hair on the back of your neck. I can guarantee you that. You want to join it in 257 KDWN 257-5396. If you feel you've ever had an experience with either a UFO or an extraterrestrial ever in your life, I'd love to hear from you also. 257 KDWN. I could say in all honesty, I never have at all under 80. At least I was not aware of it. I mean, I look at Q with 3 hats and I say to myself, he's a little bit odd. But, aside from that, I don't really have, I've never had an experience like that. So 257 KDWN, 257-5396. All right, we'll get back to Tina Marie in just a moment.
Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither wildly as they slip away across the universe.
One of the best Beatles songs ever recorded. Across the Universe, John Lennon singing that one. 720 at News Talk 720 KDWN. I'm Alan Stock. And it's one of my favorite all-time Beatles songs. It's just an incredible... They made a movie called Across the Universe, by the way. They used all the different Beatles songs. Great movie. And what?
And John Lennon actually has been on record. John Lennon said that he saw a UFO.
So did Ronald Reagan, and so did Jimmy Carter.
So did Jimmy Carter. So did Sammy Hagar.
I didn't know Sammy Hagar did.
Sammy Hagar did. Yeah, he's very vocal about it.
The other voice is that of Tina Marie. Tina Marie, of course, part of our KDWN family, and tomorrow night becoming an on-air part of that KDWN family with a brand new show called Restricted Airspace, midnight tomorrow night. And I predict this is going to be a great show and a big boost for you. All right. First of all, aliens. You think that you were saying that there are other beings on this planet who are not of this earth.
Correct.
All right, and there are different types. You've talked to me about reptilians. You talked to me about grays. You said Nordics, and you've talked to me about tall whites.
Tall whites.
All right, real quickly, let's talk about the grays, because when you go up to Area 51, known as Groom Lake, that hill area, people say, well, there are aliens up there. You said to me, no, in Area 51, there are no aliens for sure. But how do you know that? Because why? Where are they?
Well, because there's 2 other facilities up at Area 51. There's the S4 and the S2 facility.
S4 and S2.
Correct.
All right, tell me about S4 and S2.
Okay. I can tell you only so much without getting myself in trouble, but because I have a contact inside there. But, the S4...
Really? You do?
Yes. The S4 facility is just about a mile down from Area 51. So
S4 is right near Fairfield.
Right,
okay.
right. I mean, that whole area is just very contained. I mean, people don't understand that 88% of Nevada is owned by the United States government.
Right.
So they have the 2 facilities there. Now, there's also other facilities across the world that have become Area 51s, if you want to call them, too, that they moved stuff to. Now, the Area 51 whole idea was, it was just kind of, they had stuff there. It was back engineered. And then it took off in the 80s. So what they did is they moved some stuff, and then they created the S4 facility. The S4 facility is about 7 levels underground, and they have the technology. And you have to understand the people that work in these facilities, a lot of them are independent contractors. People who work there, I mean, they can come home to their spouse. They won't even tell their spouse what they do there. They can't. Okay, when you go and you work for these companies, sometimes it's a year, 2 years background checks. And you're threatened. Your life is basically threatened. You become a property for them. And that will go to you on your deathbed, because if you don't, you're going to be on your deathbed. This is the way they work. But The S4 facility is where a lot of the technology that we have has been back engineered, and then it was brought to Area 51, where the engineers work on it, and it becomes our technology.
What do you mean by back engineered?
Back in 47, in Roswell, the whole Roswell crash, we have crafts. A lot of the technology that we have now is back engineered from technology that we got from the Greys on a treaty that was signed by Eisenhower back in 54.
Eisenhower or Truman? Remember we talked about
No, it was Eisenhower. Eisenhower signed it back in 54. It was Eisenhower that signed the treaty in 54.
with
the Greys, right?
The Greys.
Yeah, that was the secret trip that he took to California, and he has an hour and a half of missing time. And the cover story was that he had a toothache and went to go see the dentist at 1:30 in the morning. But yet the dentist has no record of it.
All right. So now let's go back to so the S4 is right next to Area 51. No aliens in the Area 51. So when they say aliens are not there, that's correct. No aliens there. S4 aliens.
Yes. Yes, they have some of the Greys that work down there in the lower levels of S4.
Okay.
And again, a lot of the stuff that I'm telling...
Greys are working there.
Yes.
They're live.
Yes, they're
beings.
alive Greys working there. That's right. And they basically are trying to show us how this equipment works. They're so far advanced with us, and they're such on such totally different level that a lot of their technology is just not compatible with us because we are not emotionally and even spiritually, physically at their level. I mean, they are so much more advanced than we are.
That's an arrogant attitude from them, though. I mean, if you want, I mean, why if people are hiding it from us in the government, why not just come out and tell the people this is what's going on? I mean, we do. There are other races here, other types of.
You know why? Because 90% of the people on this planet believe in a form of religion. And that would ruin their form of religion because a lot of us, people on this planet, are egotistical by nature, that they believe that we are the center of the universe, and the fact that you have a species that is more advanced than us, more intelligent than us. I mean, the way you would equivalent them to us is we are not going to go to an anthill and give the ants nuclear technology. That would make sense. They wouldn't understand.
So, I mean, we're like ants to these people?
That they are millions of years more advanced than we are. Millions of years more advanced. Just look at where our technology in the last 40 years or 50 years where we've been. Imagine 1,000 years. Imagine 100,000 years from now where we're going to be. Now, a picture of species coming down here. I mean, we are nothing more than a petri dish to them. They look at us that
a petri dish.
Yeah, because we are so unadvanced, so uneducated into the worlds of. The reason why they're here is because of us with the nuclear bomb that we started launching and testing in 46, 47, 44. They don't want the new kids with the firecracker out in space. And that's what we are with the new kids. We are a very warmongering society around the world. Everybody. I mean, right now, the United States, our biggest export is bombs, on other countries. That's our export. We don't have any other export.
There are, the mankind, the humans on this planet definitely have been at a state of war probably almost just about forever. I don't know if there's ever been a time when there's been absolute total peace.
No.
And you have different peoples bullying other peoples. And I mean, I get all that.
But you would be surprised how many people that live here in Nevada that don't even know. Like, for example, you go up to Indian Springs. Charles Hall wrote a bunch of books talking about the tall whites that live out in that area.
We'll get into that in a minute, okay? I do want to get into the tall whites and Charles Hall. But tell me, okay, S4 right next to Area 51. Right. What's S? And S4 has these Greys working at various levels deep beneath the earth. What's S2 and where's that?
S2 is a little bit further south.
South.
Yeah, a little bit further south from the S4 facility. And the S2 facility, there's very little known about the S2 facility because it is off limits to humans.
Off limits to humans?
Off limits to humans.
Who built it? Humans?
No. No, that was built from the Greys. That is their base. And it's used not just for the Greys, but there are a few other species that actually use that basically as a landing pod, if you want to call that.
And we, and human beings have never been in S2?
No, they are not allowed there. If they will actually be killed if they were to go there. But in fact, there was instance even with the Greys with the S4. I mean, you talked about the Dulce base that it was in New Mexico. There was an incident in the Dulce base where there was a firefight between the Greys and humans, and it was just an accident, but it wasn't meant to be an accident. And what happened is, we had 47 servicemen get killed.
Where was this?
Dulce Base in New Mexico, which is, again, another secret base that, our government tries to admit that isn't there, but, they're starting to admit, okay, just like Area 51, the CIA came out, a couple months ago and said, Area 51, it exists. Oh, no kidding. We've known about it for like 30 years.
But when they said it existed, though, they talked about the fact that it existed and they've developed, different types of craft there and like that. But they still said it's got nothing to do with aliens.
Right, it doesn't. And they're completely right. It doesn't. What it does is they use that for the backup. That's kind of where they take all the technology to.
I'm talking with Tina Marie. She's starting a brand new show here tomorrow night on KDWN called Restricted Airspace. We deal with a lot of issues, witches and UFOs and all kinds of things. And you want to join in 257 KDWN 257-5396. If you've ever had an experience, even seeing a UFO, I'd be curious to hear from you. Something that means it's an unidentified flying object. You don't know what it is, but it's unidentified. Or any kind of encounter with any kind of other beings of any kind at all. We'd love to hear from you. 257 KDWN 257-5396. We'll come on back to Tina Marie and some of your calls right after news, traffic, and weather on News Talk 720 KDWN KDWN. I'm Alan Stock. Wow. 736 at News Talk 720 KDWN. What is that? It's yes? No, really? Yes, doing what? What is that? Arriving UFO? Oh, so I didn't know that. I don't remember ever hearing that. I know all the yes stuff over there. I'm Alan Stock, and I am of this world, and it's good to have you here, and I thank you so much for joining us. Joining me also is Tina Marie, starting a brand new show tomorrow night here on KDWN called Restricted Airspace, which obviously deals with UFOs and aliens, but also all the other paranormal type of issues as well, meaning, ghosts, goblins, and witches and the like. 257 KDWN 257-5396. Now, let me just say, I want to get talking about the tall whites and the Charles Hall and all that stuff. But when people see UFO pictures or videos, a lot of people will debunk it, saying, "Oh, you can do anything you want with Photoshop and all that jazz." And that's true. I think there are a lot of ones that have been faked. A lot of things have been faked. So, having said that, that's one thing. But then there are others that multiple people have taken videos of. I'm looking at one right now, actually, of an event that occurred on the 29th or 30th of September this year, just a few weeks ago. Off the coast of California, where a ship that was smoking, it was on fire.
Right.
As that was happening, you've seen this, obviously.
That's fake.
Huh?
That's fake. That's After Effects. That's an After Effects.
That is.
Yeah.
See, that's with these glowing lights around there.
Yeah. See, that's the toughest thing in this field. With the technology, After Effects, Photoshop. What I try to tell people is people who are truly into ufology, who are components of it, who really study it, who are seeking the truth. I mean, I've had my own personal experiences.
We'll talk about that in a minute. But how do you know when something is fake, though, and when it's real?
A couple things. There's certain things you can look for. Sometimes you look for the shadows. Sometimes what you'll do, you can zoom it in. You can look for pixelations. You can look for, a lot of times with the After Effects, what happens is the layers are on top of each other, so you can't embed them. So when you have a glow, if let's say the object is supposed to be going behind the ship, okay, and you have a glow, well, the glow will either show up on the front of the ship, or you're going to have to go into Photoshop or After Effects, and you are going to erase it. And when you erase it, you're erasing pixels. And that pixelation, when you go through a couple different color gamuts, you can actually see the pixelations, and it will move across the screen, and that's when you know. Not only that, but then you need to go look at the source. I mean, sometimes somebody posts something, and then you go to their page, and they've got 150 different other posts that are known fakes, or they've got videos showing how they faked certain items. That's the toughest thing in this field, is that there is so much fake. And I've been accused of being a debunker, because I'll be the first one with my experiences. I have been the first one. I will jump on if it's something fake, if it's not real. I'll say it's not real. And I get, "Oh, you're a debunker. You don't believe in UFOs." I'm like, you have no idea. With my own experience, you have no idea.
Well, I want to get to your experience in a minute, but tell me about the tall whites in Charles Hall. Where are they at, and what's going on with that?
Yeah, Charles Hall. We had him a few years ago on the Majestic 12 site. Charles Hall's actually from the Indian Springs area. He used to work out
Indian Springs up north.
Indian Springs out north, and he used to work out there on the base. And he became in contact with a species called the tall whites. Now, the tall whites, they move extremely fast. They're very protective of their children. They're tall and they're very, kind of whitish looking. But they don't really.
Therefore, tall whites. Yeah,
right, but they don't really particularly care for us. I mean,
they don't.
They do not care.
What are they doing here if they don't care for us?
This is like a vacation spot, if you want to call it that.
A vacation spot.
Yeah, this is sort of like a vacation spot. They land. So you have to understand that we take for granted this planet and everything that it's on. And this is a very special planet. We take for granted of it. And again, because we just think it's our own personal dumping ground, where, people, just think if you could travel the stars and you could go to another planet that was beautiful, you'd have a little bit more respect for it than, your own planet. And I think that a lot of these species that they come here and they look at us in our infancy stage and they're afraid that we're just going to not just destroy ourselves, but we're going to destroy this planet. Now, everything is connected with energy-wise in this planet. So if something happens to this planet, a la when they started launching those, practicing those nukes there and testing things, well, that energy is universal. It goes out into space and it affects everything in the universe. Mm-hmm. That's why, when we tested that first bomb, that sent out a warning signal to everybody, and that's when we started having a lot of visitations. If you look at the UFO field, this goes back way, way back. There's cave drawings of, cavemen, of UFOs. You go back to Da Vinci's and some of these, some of the paintings of the times. Mm-hmm. There are pictures of UFOs in the background of these pictures. Okay, little, crafts. Well, how did they come up with this? If these UFOs didn't visit, they didn't have airplanes back there. They didn't have stealth bombers and people could mistake them for. They didn't have anything that could fly. Yet they had these in the pictures. These typical UFO pictures they're in a lot of different paintings from the Renaissance period all the way back. There have been reports.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, you go back. Just go look at UFO photos. Just Google UFO photos, UFOs in religious pictures, and you'd be surprised how many. There are reports from commanders from the Middle Ages who talked about UFOs or lights over battlefields, watching the battlefields. It's amazing when you start looking back at this information. And people, whether it's because they're going to label you as crazy, but there's all this information that is out there. But when you start trying to debunk other people, that's what you really get, because when you're in this field, I don't believe everything that I see. Okay, when somebody sees a video or whatever and stuff, I think the toughest thing for me is I get a lot of videos, I get a lot of stuff. Hey, what do you think, Tina? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And I've had people that I've sent back to them like, this is a fake. This is and I explain to them what the fake is, and then I get screamed at because I'm a non-believer. But they don't know my history. So if they actually knew my history, they'd understand. But nothing would make me happier than to see a UFO land on the White House lawn. And basically take all the members of Congress away.
It did, and the day the Earth stood still. Remember, it landed on the White House lawn. The first one with Michael Rennie was better than the second one, by the way. Noctu Derutu, or whatever the hell it was. I don't remember the three words, but it meant basically dinner served, I think, or something like that. Tina Marie joining me, and we're talking about her brand new show starting tomorrow night called Restricted Airspace, midnight, right here at News Talk 720 KDWN, 257 KDWN, 257-5396. We'll find out about her personal experiences in just a moment.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Tom.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Tom. 750 News Talk 720 KDWN. I'm Alan Stockton. Of course, David Bowie, the man who fell to earth. No, it's not. That's with the movie, but that was a song he had back in. Oh gosh, it was 73. As a matter of fact, I believe. Major Tom. Space Oddity, right. And actually a good song. I always liked that. Great choice of music, by the way. A resident DJ understands what's going on. Tina Marie joining me. She's going to be hosting her own show called Restricted Airspace, starting tomorrow night at midnight here on News Talk 720 KDWN, talking about the paranormal, about UFOs, about witches, and all that kind of stuff. As they say, things that go bump in the night.
Right.
All right. All right. We talked about the Greys. We talked about S2, S4, and Area 51. We talked about the tall whites. You said you've had an experience of your own. Share that with us.
Sure. I mean, this is probably where you're going to get calls. People are going to call me crazy, which I hope they do, because I love talking to people about my story and what happened. I've had numerous. I don't call them abductions. Some people call them the abductions. I think that's a negative term, because there are people who have had abductions, and there are support groups out here actually in Vegas. I have talked to hundreds of people across the country who have hundreds. And I mean, there's literally more than that have had abductions, but I've talked to hundreds of people who have had experiences. And there are some that have the negative ones with the Greys. I mean, even within our own government. Mine happened to be a positive experience, which is, there are people who have had that too, and I've actually been able to connect to quite a few. And I don't want to consider it spiritual, because when I say spiritual, unfortunately, in this world, on this plane, we lump it to a religious base when you talk spiritual. And it was a spiritual experience, but on a kind of a much higher level than we can ever imagine here on this planet. So I've dealt with this for years. The reason why I got into this paranormal stuff was to try to confirm what happened to me.
What happened to you?
And I was actually, I had taken up into a ship, if you want to call it that. I had numerous encounters with what I call an elder who was 4,000 years old. I also had an encounter with the girl up there, and she was about 1,400 years old. And they've been here for a while. They've been monitoring this planet, and they are at a higher vibrational frequency. Okay, there's different frequencies that you vibrate up. Our planet is going through a galactic plane where we are going to naturally start raising our frequency up. And that's one of the reasons why we're being monitored right now, because they're here to kind of help us through this process as we vibrate and kind of, if you want to go into an age of enlightenment, but to kind of open ourselves up. And I think that explains a lot of the shootings and a lot of stuff going on right now, is people are experiencing something and they don't know how to deal with it.
People are doing the shootings because they've experienced something extraterrestrial? And
No. I don't think it's so much they've experienced something extraterrestrial. I think we are starting to go through this galactic plane where we are raising our consciousness and going up. And when people talk about, I was hearing voices and all this stuff here. Well, you know what? When I had my experiences, after my first one, I spent a week, I thought I was going insane. I mean, I was hearing voices in my head. I was hearing it almost like a radio station playing in the background, like little bits and pieces. Couldn't quite pick it up, I thought I was literally going insane. So when I hear some of these people talk about the shootings and they talk about, they had voices in their head, they were on this medication, I almost want to sit down and talk to them and say, okay, did anything happen in your life? Because fortunately, a lot of people have experiences, but they don't know how to relate to it because they don't. I mean, I'll make a bet right now. We have listeners that are listening to me right now who would call in and probably, a lot of them don't like to tell their story and go on air with it. I said it took me a while to go public with it, because when you go public with something like this, with your own experiences with different species, you're labeled a nutcase. You could lose your job because people look at you totally different. People who are in the ufology field who have had experiences and come out, I mean, it's a life-changing event. I remember talking to Travis Walton when he was out here from Fire in the Sky. Now, the movie was totally exaggerated to what happened to Travis Walton, but I asked Travis, I says, is there anything you would have done differently? And he looked right at me and he said, I wouldn't have got out of the truck. And when I heard him say that, he wouldn't have got out of the truck. Now, Travis Walton was a very famous story where this was back into, I want to say, the 70s. And him and 3 other guys were coming back. They were loggers, and they noticed an object. Travis got out of the truck, and when he got out of the truck, he was hit with this beam of light. His buddies took off because they thought he was dead, and Travis was missing for 5 days and showed up basically, I think it was like 5 days later, and he had this whole experience. Now, granted, he wrote a book and the movie got totally exaggerated and how Hollywood does it. Travis now, under reflection, looks back and says, he thinks what happened was the aliens took him, not because they meant to take him. It's just he got too close to the craft and the propulsion system knocked him, and they brought him in to save his life. That's why they took him in the craft and what they had to do.
So what happened when you were taken in where in a craft?
I was taken in outer space, if you want to call it, and there's nothing. When these astronauts talk about looking down on Earth and it's the aha moment, that is surreal experience. I mean, I experienced that, and when you see Earth from outside this plane, it is just an unbelievable experience, and you have to pinch yourself and go, this is not real. But when I go through the experiences I had with the elder, a lot of the stuff I had with them it was a very, like I said, I use the word spiritual, but it's not spiritual in this plane. But I kept trying to talk to them about money and religion on this planet and all the stuff that we go through. They were trying to grasp the concept of being human, I guess, if you want to say that. And I think the most profound thing I remember the elder saying to me is when I was explaining to him, the concept of money, is when he said to me, I don't understand. Okay, for him, he wasn't speaking. It was all telepathy. He thinks the idea of using your voice is beneath him. That's kind of... So
he wouldn't appreciate Sarah Brightman.
Right. Yeah. No. Okay. I mean, to them, it's a thing. It's to him, it's a very old form of communication. So he said to me, he goes, I don't understand.
I happen to like it, otherwise I wouldn't be employed.
Right. Well, that's true. I'll be, we both would. But he said to me, he goes, I don't understand why you have to pay to live on a planet that you were born on. I mean, think about that for a second. We have to pay to live on a planet that, for some people, think that we didn't have a choice. We were brought into this plane, but we have to pay to live here. When everything that we ever need, everything we would need to survive is on this planet, but we have to pay for every single thing. You have to pay for water. I mean, really, we have to pay for water. Pretty soon we're going to be having to pay for air. Okay.
No, I talked yesterday about one of the CEOs of a Nestle saying that water should be exclusive for richer people. I couldn't believe it.
You don't want the water now anyways, because they're putting fluoride in the water anyways to basically dumb us down. I mean, that's a conspiracy theory that, I'll touch on down the line on my show. But, they put fluoride. I mean, you go back 30 years ago, our government used fluoride as a form of mind control. It was, it was considered basically a, weapons of mass destruction, and we're putting it in our water.
So when you say you had these experiences, though, I mean, it's like your word. I mean, that's it. Yeah. I mean, there's no proof. You don't have any to bring back any little souvenir trinkets or anything like that.
Well, I don't. And when people say that to me, I say to them, I'm like, "Are you religious?" And they say, "Yeah." I says, "Well, do you worship God?" And they say, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay, have you seen him?" Well, then why would you say, how can you believe in a religion if you haven't seen him then?
Tina Marie, the show is called Restricted Airspace, starting tomorrow night at midnight right here at News Talk 720, KDWN, about the paranormal, UFOs, witches, crafts, all kinds of things that go bump in the night. And
we have a pagan. We have a pagan on the show.
A pagan is the first show tomorrow night. Tune on in. It's News Talk 720 KDWN, midnight tomorrow night. It's Restricted Airspace. Tina, thank you for coming by. Good luck.
Thank you, Alan.
I wish you the best. I'm sure the show's going to be a huge, huge hit. All right, we got a lot more going on this morning. We're going to come back to Earth, talk about a lot of things happening right here on this plane, right after news, traffic, and weather on News Talk 720, KDWN, KDON. I'm Alan Stock.
If there's something you want to talk about, something you want to know, something you were afraid to ask, then this is the show for you. Follow us every Friday night at midnight as we enter Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. For more information or to contact us, go to restrictedairspace.radio.com. Restricted Airspace.